Thank you all so much for joining us today for free help. My name is Jasmine and I'm one of the optimizers here at Vine Skills. I help folks get launched into Filevine as well as FBDA, and I help to bring these free help sessions to you all every Wednesday. So super excited to kind of talk to you all about like feed and task management, calendaring, just basically general housekeeping of your Filevine so you all can use it more effectively here today. I'll let Derek introduce himself, and then we'll go over just some general housekeeping before we get into the good stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, Jasmine. Derek here. I'm another optimizer here at Vine Skilled, a former attorney turned optimizer. I just really fell in love with the system, and I love going through building processes and just making life easier just in general in Filevine. So I'm happy to be able to be here today to talk about task and feed management because it's super important.
Thanks so much, Derek. If you all have any questions while we're kind of going through and explaining stuff to you, I'll use that Q&A feature down at the bottom. We'll answer your questions in real time. I see some familiar names, so you all already know the drill, so sorry for the repeat here. But we will be recording this session so that if you want to review it later down the line, or if anybody in your office would find this helpful, they can go ahead and access it on our website. I'll put a couple of links in the chat so that you all have access to them. Our free help page, which will have all of the upcoming sessions, a little bit about the topics because they do switch every week. So that way you all can kind of plan out which ones you want to attend. If you're able to, but again, if you're not able to, we do record them. I'll also include Derek and my email in the chat. That way, if you all have questions after we kind of hop off today, if you want to take advantage of any of our optimization services or just anything Vine Skills offers, we can definitely get you set up, answer any questions that you have, and just try to be as generally helpful as possible. But if there's nothing right now, Derek, I'll let you go ahead and take it away.
Awesome. All right. So what I figured we'd do first is we will start with the feed and task management, both on your individual user feed and tasks, and then on a project level as well. And then we can go through, we can hop on, or we can do those, and then we can talk about our calendaring and just talk about the different integrations and how to go through and just generally use them. So without further ado, let's talk about the feed. Well, your individual feed. Each Filevine user is, of course, going to have this feed in here. And I will say, fun fact, when I first started in Filevine, I had no idea what it was supposed to do. I was a follower on every single project, and in about a week, I had 5,000 things in my feed, which was a lot. So I've learned a lot since then to make it easier just for everyone in general. So I'm here on my feed. And I'm here, and then I also have my tasks, and we'll talk about them jointly because really a lot of team members, when they come into Filevine, this is what's going to be on their to-do list. They're going to have tasks. They should have tasks that are assigned to them. And then also you should go through and be able to have things on your feed. And the feed can go through and it can capture information, different updates on tasks and things like that. So if I were to go through and even though this one's assigned to me, I could go through and click it to archive. If someone were to go through and comment on that, then I would see it again on my feed. Or if someone else marks it done, I would see it on my feed. So it's important to go through and kind of understand how we go through and use our filters. Filters are super important. You're going to see the same type of filters between feed, tasks, and then also the activity feed on an individual project level. So I can go through and we can talk about these different filters. We have our unread and we have our recents. So I can see all the ones that were done today. This one has already been read, but I'm able to go through and still and see it. The unread is going to be everything that I haven't gone through, everything with this little archive box. So with our filters, I enjoy all the different types over here. I will say you're not able to go through and combine, notes and tasks, even though you can do a little bit of that in reporting. These are going to be separate, but you can select each of them. Well, I can select one and then go through and select the other. So it is kind of limited there, but we can also go through and look at other things, such as I want tasks that are just assigned to me on my feed. I don't want other people's. Or I can go through and look at things are incomplete tasks just in general. I do use this one a lot. Uh, when I go through and I'm working in Filevine, I will look at my feed and I will do my incomplete tasks because there's going to be some duplication just between the tasks and your feed. Further with the filters, reminders are great. Be able to go through and see all of these nice pink, well, at least they're pink in this version. You can look at one of the different modes. They may be different colors, but here they're pink, and it makes it easy for me to go through and look at it. I can also open this in another tab, and you can do that individually on the project as well. Right here, we don't see any reminders, but if you come here to the filter on a project feed, you can scroll down. Oh, there it is. You can scroll there and find reminders. And anyone who, even if you're not subscribed to the project, you can still go through and see the reminders that are on there. All right. So these ones are going to be most of how you're going through and you're sorting down your feed. They're just the big bulk categories, but you can go further in complete tasks. If you want to look at things that are pinned to your individual feed, you can send that pinned only. Or if you want to, since all of your pinned stuff is at the top, you can go through and you can also look at unpinned. Easy to go through and pin things on there. I do it a lot. You can go through and when you're in a project, you can pin to your feed. Only project admins will be able to have pin to project, but everyone should be able to go through and pin to their own feed. So that's really convenient, especially if you've gone through and you've pinned a handful of things to your feed, so you don't have to go through them every time. I pin most of my important deadlines, things that I need to keep in mind. Reminders for myself, upcoming pending projects. I keep those all on my feed pinned, and then just go through and use my filters to clear out the rest. Then you can also see notes that you've created, tasks you've created. I don't have any on here since this is a demo. And then you can also look to see completed by someone else, and you can filter in your team, or you can just click your due date. And I want to do on or before the 1st of November. And I can update your filter. So generally, a lot of users fall into the trap of we're going to go through and I'm going to work from my feed. And especially if they have too many items that are coming in on their feed because of tasks or just being subscribed to too many projects. So I always recommend make sure you're working off of both of them. That way you can go through and you can get everything that you need to get. If I will say, if someone has a feed that's a little bit too wild, there is an advanced tool in the background that can clear an entire user's feed for them, just right in here, not any project feeds or anything. And that's really good, though. If someone's been gone for a while, let's say we have someone on maternity leave and they come back and they open up their Filevine and they have 25,000 feed items. It really is just better to go through, clear that feed up, and then the person on maternity leave or paternity leave can go through and they can just audit their client files and just look at them individually overall, see all the last activity, and just kind of go from there. Because you can go through and you can see you can filter by created date, of course, due date, and all of the other things that are the same thing on your personal feed. With our tasks, when you come into this little checkbox here, it's going to have your tasks, and automatically it's going to be on or before today, and then it's going to go through and it will apply this due on for today there. Sorry, for some reason I realized that was two different things. Let me hop back there to refresh it. You can't set this, sadly, because I would love to see what's in the due in the next 30 days. But I can easily click one of these to see 7, and then the next 30 here. Can also filter by tags. Tags are a great one. They're probably one of my favorite ways to filter through my tasks. Also my feed, but I don't have many of those in there right now. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to search for, let's see, medical request. Or is it med request? I know I have one in here. There we go. Hit OK. Awesome. And there it is. it just pops up right here. You can also, if you have a bunch of different ones in there, you can also just go through and, I see this project setup one. I can just click on it and I can see other ones that have that project setup in there. Now you'll notice some of these, I have that one project set up, but this other one didn't pop up. And the only reason is that we've gone through, and this was the last activity on this was done prior to having the new tags update. They're very old ones. So if you see anything like that, you might need to add that tag to your organization, but most of them should just automatically be there. But yeah, tags are a great way to go through and filter. Makes it real easy to just click around. And especially if you're doing a bunch of different tasks in a row that are similar, sending letters of representation out, going through just sending, well, letters in general is a great one. If it's a task like requesting medical records, that's perfect. Or for attorneys to even go through and review demands or drafts that the paralegal has gone through and made for their review. Those are all absolute great ones. Also with our, nope, I want my tasks. Also with my tasks, you can go through and you can set a due date for really in the future. So if you have on or after, you can go through and you can search for that. Apparently I went too fast and it doesn't like me, but that's okay. We'll do it again. I don't have anything on this one. But for myself, since I'm still keeping my bar license up to date and everything like that, I have one on my other organization that goes through and I'm able to just track all of my CLEs there. I have a due date of the 1st of the year for next year, or 31st of the year for next year. And I just track all of my data there, which is really nice. It keeps it nice and easy for me to go through. All right, so a couple other things with our items here. This one does not have a lot. Let's see if we can find something on the feed that has more. Well, that only has a couple more on it. Best practices, type away. If you have a note here, which is signified by this yellow, if it really is a note and you're just going through and you want someone else to see that note, make sure you're hitting plus at and then going through and adding their name. So this keeps it then as a note still. If I were to come in here and say at Jasmine, then it's going to go through and create it as a task. This is going to be really important when you have some of those longer threads, when there's a lot of individuals talking back and forth. Unless you're going through and assigning a task to someone, make sure you have that plus sign on there. And that way you're not changing who it's assigned to. Because I could mark this complete, it's assigned to Jasmine. And then now I could also make a comment that says, well, I just want to assign it to myself. And it's going to update that assigned to. And it's not easy to go through and see that because this could go back and forth. And then if you have any reports based on your tasks, who it's assigned to, you can have issues with that as well. So just keep that in mind. And I always say too, if you are having one of those threads that's back and forth and a task spawns out of it, I would make a note mentioning that person, plus at Jasmine. We should go through and do this. I will create a different task. And then I would come to my feed and say, here is that task at Jasmine. And then that way, everyone can see that Jasmine's going to go through and work on it. But then Jasmine has a task that she can actually work from that is her own. So it's like a sub task, but not really, because they are going to be two separate ones. It's just a better way to keep everyone in the loop. Otherwise, it starts getting very messy and frustrating for all your team members. I've seen that firsthand, experienced that firsthand. It can get very confusing if we're not doing the plus at and the at. Those are going to be good ways to do that. I don't want to get too far into this. I mean, we could, but don't necessarily need to. Since I've created this and it's posted by me, I can always come here and I can click that little pencil and edit. And then I can go through and I can format my text in different ways as well. So I'm going to put Jasmine at the beginning, so she still has that task to her. Here's that task, and we'll just kind of do that. And now you can see it's bold. So you can use those custom text formats to be able to go through and stylize these and make them easier to read. There's a bunch of different ones, such as making it bold and italicized. You can make it larger as well by doing equals. You can even go through and you can create links to, like, you can say, click here. And then I could go through and I could link it as well. Jasmine, I just saw you post that in there. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
posted the support article that has a lot of the formatting things that Derek is talking about. So if you want to do like a strike through, italics, bold, headers, dividers, hyperlinks, any of that, you can locate it here. If you're one of our optimization clients or launch clients, we do have like a small little cheat sheet that runs through not only the formatting options on this page, but also some of the ones from our activity feed as well. So like a reminder what that at symbol means, or the plus at, how to actually write out due dates in a task. So like you want this due by a certain date or in 2 weeks. There's just small formatting things that come up with that.
And I actually, so I have a bunch of resources in here that I need to clean a couple up, but I have all of these different ones bookmarked as well, just for easy reference. If my coffee hasn't kicked in that day or something, then I can go through and I can just look at something quickly if I do not remember it. And I don't even actually see my one in there that format items and instructions. There we go. So yeah, all of these are going to go through and are going to work. I definitely messed my one example up, but I'm assuming it's because I didn't put the HTTPS in there. I could just copy it like that and then edit. Click here, and we'll put this right there. All right, now I can click there. Apparently it's not working for me today. Awesome. Click here and all your dreams come true, link brackets plus link in parentheses. So I'm not exactly for sure what in the world happened there, and I do apologize. I must have just missed putting in one of the brackets parenthesis. Okay. So with tasks and feed, I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need to take a look at. But I think that's going to cover most of it that users can go through and do. We can also build reports on these as well. You can build a task report that goes through and is just, you have it assigned to such and such a username, and then you search for the word complete, and you can search to see all the incomplete ones or all of the complete tasks as well. So those are just little tips right there, and it's another tool to help make things easier for your team.
And I think as a reminder for the feed so that it doesn't get overwhelming, because like Derek said, it can happen quicker than you realize.
Yes.
To just make it part of your daily routine to maybe come into your feed, use that got it option on the side to say, hey, okay, I got this. Let me clear this out of my feed, so that I don't have 300 pending items in here. I can just note, hey, okay, great, I got this, pin the items that I need to maybe come back to, and then go from there.
Yes, and if you're already working in a project and you've read something, let's say I'm going to go through and work on here, and I see, okay, this has the little box there, that got it box. I can just click on it, and then it will update. It will update and remove it from my feed as well. So now I'm down to 10 items because of that. That's a very quick way to help keep it managed. If you see the boxes, I always just recommend reading it and then go through and hit got it. And for things that are pinned, I can even say got it, and then it will still just sit there for me, which is nice. But Jasmine's totally right. Work on that. Set some time away each day to go through and look at that, clean it up, see if you found any notes, If you have any texts that come in as well, they're just great ways to make sure that you can clear down those numbers. But if you do have someone that's like, 5,000, 10,000, 20, I would recommend working with that person or talking to your administrator to get your feed cleared, and then just go through and work through your cases one by one, looking at the activity feed and seeing what's going on. Let's see here. I think that's all I really have for tasks. Does anyone have any questions, or Jasmine, do you have anything else to say before we go through and start looking at the calendar items?
We didn't touch on auto tasks. They're similar to the manual tasks that Derek showed you with the except for they automatically populate, typically based off of a phase change. And so you'll just want to make sure that in order for those to be accurate, that your team section is up to date and accurate with the roles that are associated with those specific tasks. So whoever's the primary, usually a good note, or even if you want to add it as an auto task for the primary to do, is to go ahead and update this team section so that if any tasks are assigned to the intake person, that there's somebody in this role in your team section so that they're getting those tasks assigned to them.
Yes, and tasks, and I can't believe I forgot about that. I was just thinking management of it. But tasks, I use them constantly for all different types of purposes. This one doesn't have any phases on there, so we'll just click on this one and see if it has them. Cool. So you can go through and you can build out these tasks, and then each of these are going to pop up of a phase, or they're going to show up based on a task being marked complete. See, this one has this new case here. So it's really nice because every time this appears on the project type of personal injury demo, where someone is going to be getting that on their feed, and they'll be able to just click the new case and be able to go through and search it. You can also create links in here. You can create the links to different sections within your own Filevine. I just recommend right-clicking the opening so you don't lose your page. You can add all of those different formats and items in there that we talked about with bolds. Yeah, all the things that Jasmine shared, you can do all those things within your tasks.
And you can add replacement codes as well, which is really nice.
Yes, just hit this little question mark.
Yeah, and bring up that field replacement list. It's similar to a DocGen replacement list. And then you can go ahead, instead of saying, contact client, you can actually put their name in. It's a little bit more personal. And you can pull in most of the fields from your Filevine in that way.
Yes. And then there's so many different, here we go. Client name. So then when this goes through and gets generated, whichever project it's in, it's going to be pulling this project contact's name in there. That can be very, very helpful. These tasks, if you're not aware, they're also like trees or vines, I should say, that allow you to go through and have different tasks triggered off of other ones. So if I have, so this one says move to investigation phase upon completion of intake. I want it to come after this one is marked done. So I will just, it's already there. There we go. Yeah, I didn't even read it. See, this one goes through then and off that other one. Once it's marked done, this will appear. You can have it appear different time frames, 2 days after it's marked complete, or you can have it just automatically. Things like this, move to investigation phase upon completion of intake, keep those automatic for sure. I will say one thing I've seen a lot too, which can hurt team members, is having too many of these roles selected. So if I'm assigning this to the primary, but then I want to notify each of these individuals, I can click shift and do all those. I can also hit command or control to click one by one in different parts. If I were to go through and save this, it's going to annoy all of the people that are in these ones. So think about that when you're going through and thinking about notifying roles. If you think that there is a role that should be notified, I mean, That's a great point. I would go through and see if you could get it set up. Just because there's some things that people need to know about, and then there's also some things that team members will go through, and even if they get it on their feed, they're not going to read it. So, think about your team, think about your processes about that as well, and ask, does everyone actually need to know about this, or are they likely to find out through other ways? If they're likely to find out through other ways, I'd keep it as that, just to make things easier for everyone in general. You can also do these through action buttons, and you can do some fun things with them. So if I do my pleadings here, this hearing task flow, it's built into a collection section pleadings. I can go through and I can have an auto task that pulls information from that section. So you can have like pleading name and everything in there. So even if you want to just make a note that you said that, you've gone through and you filed this, you can mark that button. It could assign a task to yourself, and then you just go back into your feed and you can mark it done or change it to a note by coming down to assign to and clearing assigning. I will say, if you do this, it's good to make a note. Your future self will thank you for it. I could just say, task cleanup. And then I could also just change it like that too. So notes are going to be helpful. I always say your future self will thank your former self for things like this. It just makes life a lot easier.
And I'd say one other thing to note about task flows, it's stuff that's big or small that you need to do for every single case. But I think in the spirit of task management being kind of one of our topics, not all of the like small details maybe need to be a task, right? Like client date of birth, maybe that's something that you need to do, but maybe doesn't need to be its own individual task. Can either be lumped with another task, or you just know my staff already knows how to do this or to do this, so that I'm not reminding them, so that they're not getting 15 tasks from a task flow for each project that they're then having to go in and manage. So you do want to make it so that it's still usable and beneficial to your staff, and beneficial to your process as well.
It's a great, very, very good point, Jasmine. Let's see. I think that is going to be it. Definitely try to use these replacement fields if you can. It's really nice, really convenient. And you can start thinking about things outside of the box that you could potentially do in your Filevine just to make team members' lives easier. Okay, so let's see here. Oh, also, if you do have an individual who, let's say, leaves your organization and all of their tasks need to go to someone else, or if that individual is changing roles and all of their old tasks need to go to someone else, back in the advanced tools, you can click on task utilities, and then you can pick two individuals, your current user and then your new user. And if I were to go through and just click assign tasks, all of those would go over and be moved to her. And it will be all that are assigned to the current user, all uncompleted ones. So just keep that in mind.
Want to make sure that sorry, Derek, I was just going to say, you want to make sure that if somebody's leaving your firm, that you do this before you remove the user from your org. That way,
yes,
don't go unassigned or untended to. So great thing to point out. And not everybody has access to be able to do this. So whoever your like Filevine admin is, the person that's going in to make the changes, will want to make sure that they kind of get this done again before removing anybody from the org.
Yes, otherwise it is an absolute pain to go through and locate or figure out all of this stuff, especially if you have more than one user be removed at the same time and they still had tasks, then you don't necessarily know exactly who they were supposed to go to, which causes a lot of frustration around, and it's something to definitely just avoid.
And one other thing back end is that you are able to like mass add a task to projects that meet a certain criteria. So if you go in and run a report, that maybe has no statute of limitations as your criteria, you can add a task to all projects that fit that and assign it and say, complete statute of limitations. And it'll go in, it'll run that report for you. And then add those in.
Yes. So I can go through and create something on there. This is a note. Definitely double check your preview, because the issue that we sometimes face is that if these will be created and there might be an error in them, and it's really hard to go back and fix those as well. So just check on that. Right now it's just a note. I can come over to task options, and then I can assign to myself, and I can set a date for for in the future. If I click on it, this is a note posted by you. I do Friday, and then I can queue the update. I won't do that because I don't want to cause any issues for anyone. It does lead me to also think, let's say, that just the world of tasks and feed management is just, there's so many different components to it. Sometimes I don't remember all of them right away. Another fun one that I'll go through and use is like, hey, Jasmine, please call me, and then asterisk by Friday. If I do this asterisk and I do like by Friday, it'll go through and it'll pick a day. Or I can do by next Friday. Looks like those are going to call them the same ones. By Friday, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, I'm just trying to test to see how much it can actually do. So you could do it the next week, or you could go through.
Yeah, it'll let you a specific date, and it will also let you say in 2 weeks.
That's right.
It's just in 2 weeks. And it will calculate 2 weeks from today. You do need that asterisk there in order for it to calculate the dates for you.
Yes, if you don't have that, it's just gonna ignore it completely. The asterisk tells it to recognize that there's going to be some sort of instruction after it. So very convenient, especially if you're updating a note on your own task. I'll use this one a lot. Attorneys will go through, and it's good for them to use those, especially as they're managing and running with their teams, just making sure that everything's in time in online. So yep. Okay, I'm trying to think. I think that is about it. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Or otherwise, we'll just keep rolling right into our calendars. Cool. All right. Jasmine, you can still see my Filevine screen, right?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you. Okay, so for calendars, the calendars in Filevine, they can be great. It just depends on how you go through and you're using those calendars. So automatically, if you have let's say a reminders field. Oh, sorry. You can also search for tasks right here as well by clicking that little search bar. That's what I wanted to say. Okay, so for my calendar, any reminder fields that have due and done fields, such as like statute of limitations, that's always one that I'm seeing. Anything that has like this, if you go through and you put a due date and save, that information will go through and appear on your calendar. Now, this will also, for all team members that are subscribed, such as myself here, I can go to my personal calendar. That's not my calendar, sorry, my personal calendar. And then I can look at appointments and deadlines. And then if I've gone through as well and have synced my either Office 365 or Gmail to it, you can go through and get those notifications then on here as well in your actual calendar. I will say sometimes I'll see an issue. Sometimes my calendar will disconnect. And then in those cases, I just come back to my calendar settings and I just redo it quickly. Just remove whatever's ever on there if it's not, or if it's still there, and then just re-add my same account, logging back in with my same information.
Each
I have
individual
the
does
oh,
have to go in to add their calendar themselves. So if you're a paralegal and you're like, great, I want my attorney's information in there, they're going to have to log into their account to attach their calendar settings before you can kind of use it in any way in the system.
yes. And you can also share other calendars with individuals. I think this one I have to my Office 365, but it'll go through no work. So if I look for, start searching for Jasmine, I think you were 4. I can go through and I can send an invite. Didn't look like that wanted to actually work for me right then and there. So we'll just come there. Go into a different organization. And the reason this is an organization that we use more often. So I don't always expect people to be in this sandbox with all of their stuff in there. But here on my calendar, you can go through and you can see I could have my Google/Office 365 appear in here. I don't have anything on my Office 365, but that's just because I use Gmail for all of it. So you can turn those on, and then I can go through and I can share my calendars with other people back in that setup, and then I can see their information too as well. So Stephanie on our team had gone through and shared her information with me. And then if she had anything on her calendar, I'll be able to go through and see it. I can apply my own filter there as well. So as people are subscribe, or as we go back to here and you add yourself as a subscriber, if your calendar is hooked up, then you'll be able to see it in your Office 365 or your Gmail. And then you'll also be able to go through and share your calendar with other individuals in the firm, which is really, really nice, convenient. However, going through and adding events to your calendar, let's say I want to create something that's not necessarily an appointment or a deadline, or if I'm just going through and just need to create a new calendar event, I can say new calendar event. I can search for a project. Perfect. Set my time and all of this and add my location and notes, and then I can invite users to it. One user has to be in there. All right, so now we have a new calendar event on there, which is great. It's considered an appointment. But the problem with this is that because of sometimes there is that issue with the Gmail sync and the Outlook sync, to be able to get those things on your calendar, generally the best practice is to create those calendar invites actually in your calendar here. So if I come to my Filevine 1, I can come in here and I can create a new event. I can click on my more options and I can add guests in there. One of my guests that I want is going to be this project. So let me just copy over that email address. Oops. Copy over there we go. Copy it over. And I can add it here. And then I can add, I won't add you, Jasmine, so you don't have to clean it up later. But I can invite other people to this as well, and then just manage this event through my actual Google Calendar. I don't have to manage it within Filevine. When you're going through and you're inviting different projects into these invites, if you have, let's say, related projects, you can only go through and accept or invite one project one project per calendar event. Otherwise, you're going to go through and you're going to get a response that says that there's already been a request to Filevine for it. I couldn't think of the actual email address that it comes from. But if I go through and I save this, it might take a second, but it should go through and it should invite, or it should pop up here on this calendar. Maybe not right away, but it'll go through and it will pop up here, just because the project has been invited to it. So look out for any emails that might come through and say that it didn't work. But then that way you can go through and you can just manage it all from here. And then what I'm doing each day is I have my main calendar that I actually work from Gmail. That's going to have a lot of my most important deadlines, because I always have my email pulled up. Same thing with Outlook. You generally have your email just right there and right next to your calendar. And when you go through and you invite people, you don't have to worry about people potentially not getting it on their calendars and through Filevine. They can have it on their actual individual Filevine calendars, and then just invite the project, and inviting that project will then sync it all together. So you'll be able to see it everywhere on there. You can run, what I recommend is checking your calendar here in Filevine. If you really want to, you could go through and click in your actual other meetings that come in. I don't have any one this, because this one is hooked up to that Office 365. But you can manage your calendar from there. I just recommend doing all of your invites from your actual mail client. It'll make it easier, especially when you have tools in Outlook already, where you can go through and you can share calendars and see calendars just in general. Okay, let's see here. Does anyone have any questions about calendars? I know there's a lot we can cover on it. I don't know how familiar people are. Is anyone having issues with their calendar? If you do have an issue, I would just go through and, like I said, try to unsync it. Sometimes you'll see issues potentially with, actually we'll come here. My Filevine thing not there now. Your plugin can also help you be able to easily pull that information over from different projects. Apparently mine is off, and I'm not for sure why. But yeah, you have some flexibility with that. You also, in Outlook, if I go through and create my new mail, I can click Filevine, sign into my account. Oh, Derek. Vine skills, not a dot. Cool. And then actually, I don't have that user information readily available. Shoot. Go through and see if I can find that quickly.
If you haven't yet downloaded the add-in to your either Office 365 or Gmail, would highly recommend, because outside of just helping with the calendar, it can help when you're trying to push emails over into Filevine. This allows you to not even have to copy that project email that Derek showed. You can just manage it directly from here, similar to using that project email. It'll bring in all of the attachments. Those will automatically go to the docs section with tags and everything like that. So super helpful.
Yes.
Kind of there.
Yes. It's really nice to be able to go through and remove those images. And, a lot of times they're just signature images as well. And then that just clogs stuff up, and you don't actually like doing that. Let me close all that out, because that's the wrong Filevine. But that's how it goes through, and it works. Let me see if I can get this information, clean information, so then y'all can see a better demonstration. I do apologize for this. I really thought it was good to go earlier for me. It's probably what happens when I update all of my stuff at the same time. So very sorry.
Technology, no worries. And I know Derek kind of showed when folks share their calendars, it shows up just below your name. And the colors are automatically assigned to each user's individual calendar, but you're able to see what they've shared with you. So especially for paralegals that are maybe working in Filevine and want to be like, okay, is the attorney free this day, this time? You can see that as long as they've shared their calendar with you here. And this is the global calendar. Again, so it will have all of your projects. The individual project calendars don't have specific users calendars attached with it. You'll see it's just a calendar. This will just house the information for this specific project. So those deadline with reminder fields, anything that you manually add in, because you can do that from here, will all be on this calendar, and it will also show up on that global calendar we just saw there.
Yes. If you don't see it up here in this calendar, you might see it over there. Okay, so here with the calendar, this is kind of what I'm looking like. We're looking at for the Outlook. The Outlook that is local on your computer. You can do Office 365 online, and it's going to look a little bit different for how you go through and you add the extensions for Outlook. Super easy. Just go through and get add-ins if you have out Office 365. Google isn't too bad either, because you can come back and just click on add-ins here. And I already have it on there, but I need to go through and update it, I believe. Let me get my clear all those. And then you can go through and you can just download it from there. They're pretty easy to go through and get started. Definitely, if you have any issues with this, just holler at us at some point. But yes, I can come here and I can see some certain things. So I can have my vitals there. I can see what contacts are involved. This is an internal employer operating system that we've built. So you're not going to see a lot of information on there, but I can also see team members. Looks like they list me as the follower / subscriber. Generally, those are interchangeable, but then I can go through and, I can attach documents, attach Filevine documents from here or from the actual project. It's going to limit you on how many you get, I believe. Yep, so more than 50 documents. So then you just kind of search it, but then you can attach whichever document to it, and it'll just pop it right in there, which is really cool. And then I don't actually know what this no subject is, so I'm going to not select that. And then I can add a comment or a task. So at Jasmine, can you review? And if I send this email with comment, it's going to go through and it's just going to post or send it to whatever email I have here. So I could do, I can just do it myself even. Or if you need to go through and add a task to or someone needs to add a task to like a paralegal or another support person or just anybody in general, you can do it just from this Filevine. And you can send that email with comment right here. And all of this will post into Filevine, which then you can also do your billing as well too, which is really cool. Cool. The Google plugin is going to be the same. It's just the same across the board. They're gonna be looking very similar, have the same similar functions. And in Google, just go through, add those apps, and then here at Outlook, click these 3 buttons and get add-ins. If this is grayed out, you might not be able to actually add anything. So make sure you have the correct usernames, or not even usernames, emails in here. Earlier, I had a personal account and my Vine Skills account, and I was not able to install the add-in. But once I removed my personal, I was able to go through and install it. So just a heads up there. The actual plugin for Outlook and Gmail and that calendar app, and even emails, just on that, it's wonderful for keeping client information and client projects clean. So I highly suggest going through and doing that.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Derek. Any
absolutely
questions that you all have, feel free to use the Q&A while we wait for any last minute questions to kind of come through. If you all are like, hey, those what you all showed was great. Those mass updates, mass permissions were great. I don't have the time to do them, but would love to pay somebody to do them. You can definitely retain our services. We run the gamut on all things Filevine. So if you're new to like FVDA or lead docket, or just need folks to come in and help assist you in any of those products, Filevine included, we'd be more than happy to kind of connect with you on what services we have and how we can benefit you. We're also offering a free Filevine audit. So for folks that have been in Filevine for a while, maybe there's some obsolete fields that you have, or the new features that have come out, maybe you're not utilizing in the best way that you could to maximize kind of productivity. We'll run a free Filevine audit for you, kind of let you know the pain points that we're seeing within your build or org. And then, if you choose to retain our services to kind of complete all of those things, great. If not, at least you have the info to kind of go forward and make those changes yourself. If you all do have questions, definitely feel free to reach out to Derek or myself. I put our info in the chat at the very beginning of this call. I put some helpful links in there for you all. So that support page with that formatting that Derek went over, our training videos where all of our free help videos are located, as well as some other videos. So again, if you have QuickBooks, FVDA, lead docket, anything like that, we do have videos on our website that go over maybe some of the pain points that you all are currently experiencing. Feel free to jump on there, look at the videos. And again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to us. If you all need anything, again, Vine Skills is always here and we'd be more than happy to help you. But if not, thank you so much, Derek, for all of your knowledge today. And we look forward to seeing you all next week. I know it's a holiday week, but we'll still be here on Wednesday. So if you're hungry for some more Filevine info, definitely come and see us next week for free help. Perfect.
Awesome. It was great chatting with y'all.
Thanks so much, Derek. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.